Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Trevor. Really grateful to have you here. And today's video is just going to be a recap of my weekly rotation in fragrances this past week. About the first-ish week of June. Today's the 12th, so running out from right around the 4th till the 11th, I want to say, was the last 7-day stretch for me. And I started off Monday with this Hermes fragrance. This is Jardin and Mediterrannee. Really nice woody fig fragrance. So for me, I get more of the woody green leafy qualities of the fig note from this fragrance than I do the fruity nuances of it. So it's very much kind of like a dark green fragrance in that respect. However, there's also some really nice watery touches in here, more like fresh water, dew, rain falling off of leaves, that sort of watery vibe rather than a salty marine aquatic style. Wore this one on Monday because it was really hot out, and the watery notes in here combined with the fresh kind of leafy qualities of the fig make this really very refreshing in an unconventional way. Like I said, it doesn't have citruses or salty aquatics, but it's very, very refreshing of a fragrance. However, it is incredibly short-lived. I max get about 3 hours out of this one, but it seems to be disappearing sooner than that, which is a real shame because the scent profile here is phenomenal, and like I said, it's very practical of a fragrance because it does refresh me so easily. But yeah, a little bit disappointed with the performance on this one, but beautiful scent profile nonetheless. And the woody fig quality in here reminds me a lot of the fig in this fragrance right here. This is Fig Confit from Therapia by Aroma. Really nice indie brand with high quality offerings, and like I said, the way fig is done is almost identical in these two fragrances. This one is a little bit more gourmandish with, it's almost as if you were to layer the fig in here with something like By the Fireplace. You get this really nice candied fig fragrance, very unisex, very nice summer night fragrance, but wears great in the autumn and winter time as well. So that was Monday, Jardin and Mediterrannee from Hermes. And like I said, it was very hot most of the week here. We were in the low 90s for the majority of it, so definitely breaking into some more refreshing fragrances, which brings me to Tuesday. I wore Byredo's Bal de Freak, and this fragrance is growing on me rapidly. I actually recently got this, but I already have quite a dent in this for a brand new fragrance. Really phenomenal stuff. It is definitely a little bit overpriced for what it is. It's something that I like to reach for maybe like after I've gotten done mowing the lawn or doing a bunch of work with my hands and with tools that might have worked up a sweat, and I just want something that isn't suffocating or thick, or it just wears very light, is very easy on me. It is not quite refreshing, but relaxing in some sense while also being light, and this perfectly encapsulates that vibe. So it is a little bit more of a practical fragrance for me, not something that I would normally wear because I usually do like things with a little bit more loud of a presence and something that I can catch wafts of more easily. Whereas, like I said, this wears lightly, but it is awesome the way that it does just make you feel clean, refreshed, kind of has a fresh laundry linen vibe going on with it. Very similar to 90 Pure White from Banana Republic. I think that is a clone of this fragrance. They do have some subtle differences. I don't think this one is necessarily, $200 more of a skilled composition per se. I mean, I don't know, that it is maybe not $200. I do think this is a little bit overpriced for what it is, but it is a phenomenal fragrance, incredibly well blended. There's citruses in here that I have not smelled done in the same way in any other fragrance. It's just like a very nice fine mist of citrus. Some tropical fruity floral nuances as well over the top of that fresh laundry. really enjoying this a lot, but like I said, Banana Republic Pure White comes pretty close to this, minus the unique citrus kind of, it's hard for me to put into words the fine mist of citruses that they have in here. It's almost borderline powdery, but it's still juicy and vibrant the way that citruses are, despite having a borderline powdery texture because of like how fine it comes off. But other than that, yeah, fruity, tropical, citrusy, fresh, clean linen, floral, easy to wear, relaxing, a warm hug, just sun-kissed skin is kind of the warmth that this provides as well. And it's even though it's adding some level of warmth to a wearing experience, it still wears perfectly in the heat. So even though you're putting warmth on warmth rather than say refreshing or cooling off with something like this, it still works and just you know, harmonizes very well with that warm weather transitioning from the spring into summer. Really impressed with this one, Bal de Freak from Byredo. Okay, so moving on to Wednesday. Wednesday it started to cool off a little bit. It came from the 90s down into the 80s, I want to say, and then we also had a lot of hazy skies coming in from the wildfires, so the weather outside was kind of white out in some respect, so it kind of had this dark nuance to it despite being relatively bright and sunny. So I decided to go with this one right here, Guerlain's Vetiver. Really nice, grassy, soapy fragrance. It's got a soapy vetiver in here. It's a little bit mature because of the kind of green nuances that it has, and then there's also some added richness from a tobacco and myrrh composition in here. This is my preferred vetiver from what I've tried so far out of it and Tom Ford's Gray Vetiver, which actually appears in this list further on into the week. But yeah, nice, creamy, rich, a little bit, I don't want to say sweet, but there's a certain nuance from the myrrh and tobacco that gives it a richness. I don't want to say sweet because this is very much a medicinal, dry, bitter kind of fragrance, but there's just an added richness from that myrrh and tobacco that you don't get in other vetiver fragrances. So yeah, nice, clean, soapy, creamy, and rich. That's what this one is. Grassy as well. Really elegant stuff, and like I said, it is a little bit mature, so I would say that Gray Vetiver is more of the mass appealing, easy to wear out of the two, but this is my personal preference. That was Wednesday, Guerlain Vetiver. Okay, Thursday, reach for another classic. This is Eau Sauvage EDT from Dior. Really nice, iconic, just citrus aromatic fragrance. This one also has a little bit of a green, mature tinge to it that I don't think is old school or dated in any way, but it definitely is something that could end up wearing you if you're not of the stature of character to wear it. It's a good way to articulate it, I want to say. But yeah, Eau Sauvage, really great, really refreshing, pretty long lasting for citrus aromatic. I get about 4 to 6 hours out of this one, whereas a lot of my other ones kind of die off at around 3 hours. Yeah, just timeless classic this. I really had a enjoyable wear with this one on Thursday. Again, kind of hazy skies, but was starting to heat up again, getting closer into that 90 range. And then Friday went with this one, Wulong Cha from Nishane. Definitely, I don't know, I want to say I like this one more than Hachivat, but Hachivat, it has been growing on me. I really do love that oak moss in there, and it's been making itself a little bit more known to me. I'm not going as nose blind to it as I get more used to wearing that fragrance. This one, however, does have a lot more of a development to it. The Hachivat's a little bit linear. This one has a really nice, bright, citrusy opening. Kind of almost has a body lotion vibe going on with the way that the citruses mix with this Oolong Cha tea. and at least that's the note that's listed in there. That kind of has this medicinal vibe to it, but the rest of the notes in here with like the fig kind of balance this out and make it not quite sweet, but it definitely has a freshness, and so like the medicinal quality adds to the sort of cool vibe going on, I want to say, or the cooling vibe, almost mentholic in some sense, but not quite. It's just more of like similarly watery type refreshment that you would have gotten in this. And yeah, this one I do also get a pretty good wearing experience in terms of longevity. The projection isn't the greatest, but I do get around 6 hours with this one. It does become a skin scent after quite some time, but it's still there, and I personally can still catch wafts off of it. Yeah, really nice, citrusy, a little bit medicinal tea fragrance, which also features a fig note. Incredible stuff, definitely worth the price. I think I got this 50 ml for under $100, which is a great price for this fragrance. And definitely going to be a staple of mine coming up in the summer season. And then Saturday it started to cool off a little bit, but was still pretty warm. I want to say high 80s, and the haze had started to dissipate, so it was a conventionally bright, sunny, and warm day. And I went for another Vetiver fragrance, and that is Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver. Again, I think this one is a little bit easier to wear than Guerlain's Vetiver, a little bit more mass appealing than Guerlain's Vetiver. And a little bit more citric forward. I feel like the Guerlain Vetiver is more leaning into its vetiver presence with the kind of creamy soapiness, whereas this one I feel is a little bit more citric dominant for a good majority of the wearing, while the creamy vetiver comes out more in the dry down on this one. But yeah, citrus and soapy vetiver is just really all you get here. It's done to a Tom Ford quality controlled standard, and it is I kind of get a fresh chlorine vibe out of this one. If you're not familiar with my channel, I've mentioned this fragrance a handful of times. I kind of get a nice chlorine in the best sense. Just kind of reminds you of being at a 5-star hotel with that public pool room, and it just smells very clean, and the chlorine is not chemically it doesn't have like a chemical tinge. It just is like clean and reminds you of being on vacation or being poolside at this time of the year, as people are starting to open their pools up. Just really beautiful stuff right here. Nice, grassy, soapy, and citric heavy vetiver fragrance. Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver. And I think if you look around, you can find this one for around $150 or less sometimes, which I think is a great deal for the juice in here. So that was my Saturday. And then Sunday it really started to cool off. We got some rain and it dropped down into like the 60s, and it's actually in the 50s where I'm at right now today on Monday, which is why I'm filming inside. I went to go out on the porch to film this video, and it was there's some wind blowing and the camera light and the stand was tipping over and stuff. But yeah, so Sunday really started to cool off. It rained and it was, down into the 60s. So I wanted to keep in the spirit of spring, summertime, but go for something a little bit more heavy and dense. And the recent one in my collection, I've been wanting to get a test wear out of it, so I grabbed this one right here. This is Tom Ford's Costa Azzurra Parfum. Pretty much reminds me of Acqua di Gio Profumo, but it is a lot more woods heavy. So I think they list cypress, Amalfi lemon, and driftwood maybe as the 3 notes in here. I could be wrong, but I think that's the gist of what this fragrance has to offer. And like I said, it does have that herbal greenness that you get in Profumo, but there's none of the salty aquatic vibe. It's just citrus, woods, and a little bit of a marine sense from like the driftwood, but it's, like I said, it's more emphasis on the woods. Very heavy, dense, Sits a little bit close to the skin. I don't get as much projection out of this one, I don't think, because of the Parfum concentration. It does linger a little bit close, but it's a very pleasant wearing experience, and again, a little bit more of a mature vibe because of the green woody aspects in here than some other fragrances in this category. Yeah, like I think in general you're better off with an Acqua di Gio if you're looking for compliments, ease of wear, versatility. But this one is, I think, it's nice, a little bit more dressed up and classy. I feel like if I were gonna want to reach for that scent profile and I was going to a wedding or something like that, this would probably be the one I would grab. It is a little bit more, yeah, just a little bit more dressed up than your average Acqua di Gio, but I'm not sure worth the added markup. But then again, I think Acqua di Gios are kind of hard to come by for under 100 these days for the 4.2 ounce bottles, and this one's not that much more expensive. So maybe get your nose on this one, sample it. I'm still getting to know it, but it's a really nice woody take on a blue fragrance. And that was Sunday's Tom Ford's Costa Azzurra Parfum. And that rounds out my week at the end, or the beginning here of June, and as I'm transitioning out of spring into summer, just kind of reaching for the more green, citrus aromatic style fragrances. Let me know what you've been grabbing at, wearing, and where you're at, and let me know your weekly rotation in the comment section down below. And as always, I appreciate you sticking with me to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.